Today is Friday, September 12th, 2025. This is a special meeting of the Board of Education's Finance Committee. It's the first meeting of the fiscal year 26. And the first item on the agenda is the review of the July-August 2025 financial report. Rich.
So this is the first financial report of fiscal year 26. We are forecasting a positive balance of 490,512. To go over the changes that create that surplus, there was a request for a 0.2 FTE French teacher at the middle school, so that is a deficit of 23,548. As you'll recall, we added 108th elementary section, and so that is a deficit of 88,631. The new schedule for paraprofessionals has yielded savings of 112,216. The new salary schedule for secretaries has yielded savings of 9,653. The new salary schedule for custodians has yielded savings this year of 15,787. And then the new salary schedule for the maintenance staff this year has yielded savings of 43,589. We do currently have 2 HVAC positions that are vacant, so we are temporarily contracting out HVAC repairs. So you'll see a deficit of 85,534 there. As you recall, towards the end of last year, the board approved a change in the calendar for some early release days, and we had discussed a deficit in the food service subsidy of 14,400. Salary savings right now are a deficit of 77,600, but similar to last year, this tends to accrue as the year progresses, and so we'll track that as it goes forward, but we'd expect that to shrink. Software is a deficit of 6,000 for board docs. We did discuss this at the last meeting. Depending on the version we go to, that could change to $10,200. Dues and memberships has a savings of 5,030. One is for membership not being used, and another for membership that came in slightly below budget. Turnover has exceeded expectations by 189,529. Contract support is a favorable 44,989, and that's due to favorable settlements with the custodians, the maintenance union, and then some unused unaffiliated support services salaries. We do have a deficit in special education consult services, as we do have 5 kids who have returned to district, and you'll see a corresponding savings in tuition non-public for 377,790. On June 30th, the state of Connecticut approved their budget, and in that budget, as you recall, initially it was supposed to be no additional funds in fiscal year 26, and then $40 million of additional funds in fiscal 27. The final budget that was approved by the state did add $40 million in fiscal 26 and fiscal 27. So we are forecasting a reimbursement rate of 70%. Obviously, that remains in flux depending on how submissions occur throughout the state, and the first submission again is due December 1st. Electric, we are forecasting a deficit of 44,000. If you recall, during the budget season, we decided to take the same approach that the town was using, and that the public benefit charge would be reduced. That did not occur. Originally, it was anticipated to be reduced in April, and that has not occurred. Current policies, both workers' comp and liability insurance, came in better than expected for a surplus of 18,200. The health insurance is a savings of 115,000. As you recall, we had deductible savings for the negotiated contract with the custodians and maintenance, and we have some census changes as well. Payroll taxes are a positive 13,000, and that is due to the new salary schedule savings for the secretaries, the paraprofessionals, the custodians, and the maintenance. And ELP tuition is a positive 48,875. We do have 49 paying students to start the year, against a budget of 45. If we do go with the 10,200 for board docs, that surplus will go down to 486. So the general education RCs are a positive 128,000, while the special education RCs are a positive 361,000. Just as I mentioned earlier, at Middlesex, we have that 0.2 French teacher. Henley is that 108th elementary section. You can see some of the salary savings for the paraprofessionals and the secretary affect Henley. It affects Royal. And the custodian affects Tokenique. The maintenance department, again, that surplus with the new maintenance salary schedule for the HVAC positions, as well as the deficit associated with contracting out repairs. We do have projected deficit for board docs and RC15 technology. We do have some small salary savings from a delayed start in the network manager. In RC16, the membership partners for educational leadership is not being utilized, and that's 5,000 of 5,030. In RC18, we did include the grid currently, and so we had 2 administrators turnover for a slight increase of 3,900. We had 33 teachers for 619,283. We did have one more teacher who's let us know that they're leaving, and so that'll be 34 for the next meeting. And then we did complete the 4 of the 5 transition at Middlesex for savings of 208. So that is what leads to the surplus of $189,000. And then in RC 24, we have almost $100,000 in savings on the new paraprofessional schedule. And then again, we have the deficit for the students who have returned to district and contracted services, with a surplus in tuition for those same 5 students who's returned to district. In RC 25, you'll see the property insurance, student accident insurance, and workers' comp make up those current policies that I talked about, and then electric with the deficit for the public benefit charge. And then the breakdown in terms of savings for health insurance, the 3,000, 6,000 deductible change for the custodians and maintenance makes up about half of that savings within the health insurance fund. And then again, ELP tuition with 49 students against 45 students budgeted.
Any questions? Go ahead, Jen.
So the maintenance, so I understand we have savings because we don't have the 2 vacant HVAC positions. Are we interviewing to fill those or?
There is a shortage of skilled labor with that in the state of Connecticut. And so we have interviewed a few people. We made offers to 2 people and they both ended up backing out. And so right now, if anybody knows of any HVAC people, we'd love to see a resume. Yeah.
You go.
My other question is, so when we talk about the surplus in just special education, that's RC 24, and is that also, and then
And 26 for.
and 26? Okay, thank you.
My observation more than question is, so if I go and look at the new contract savings and the associated deductible savings with the new contract, which is about 50% of the health insurance changes, we're looking at close to $240,000 in savings. So maybe talk about, because I think this doesn't get, and I made this comment, I think the other night, but this really doesn't get realized by the public or maybe even our financial partners in town, how much work we've done on some of these contracts and changes. So maybe just espouse how much this will accrue over the years also.
So we started with the custodians and maintenance. We negotiated a new salary schedule for employees hired after a certain date. We followed that up with the paras and the secretaries as well. If we look back at when it was instituted and look at the dollars saved for those years, we've saved well over $1 million across those 4 bargaining units. And when we created the salary schedule, we looked at what our peers were paying for similar positions in Lower Fairfield County for kind of benchmark, because we obviously didn't want to create a salary schedule that would leave us with unfilled positions. As you mentioned, this year alone, it's about $250,000 in savings, but it's been over $1 million since we've instituted these schedules.
And then rolling forward.
And they're rolling forward.
Over the
correct.
contracts will be another million. I mean,
it could easily be another million. I mean, the big savings, while the dollar amount necessarily for a paraprofessional isn't as big as you might see with like the maintenance or custodians, you have more volume in terms of the number of employees. And then even with the deductible change, we've started with the custodians and maintenance, and then that obviously can accrue forward, and those would be permanent savings as you move forward throughout the years.
I mean, and again, the deductible savings this year alone, are you talking close to $50,000, if not a little
Correct,
more,
correct.
just with this one?
2
working group?
unions,
Oh,
maintenance and custodians.
okay.
The maintenance, however, it's 13 people in the union. We have 2 vacancies, so 11. But less than half of that union actually takes health insurance. And so that's a small amount.
Okay.
You can imagine if you extrapolate that over a larger union, you can accrue more savings.
And then if you could just go to the salary savings, I know it's early in the year, but it's a somewhat new line item, and just if you could explain how that's going to work as the year progresses.
So the board started budgeting salary savings last fiscal year. And so salary savings are the savings that you accrue from not having a filled position. So unlike turnover, where you're saving from having somebody at a lower salary, this is just, you're essentially not paying anybody because the position hasn't been filled. And so we had a delayed start with the network manager. We had a delayed start in the director of elementary education. And so that right there is kind of what you're seeing right now. Eventually, we're gonna apply accrued salary savings for the HVAC positions that we mentioned that aren't filled. We're kind of holding that in arrears a little bit until we figure out how the shakeout between actually contracting out the maintenance and the salary savings. it typically starts to accrue over the course of the year. So for example, if you have a custodian that leaves, let's say today, you might not necessarily have that position filled today. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks from now. And so you're accruing that one paycheck of salary savings. So if we look last year, we met that salary savings target, but it took until probably the second half of the year for it to kind of like collapse. And so probably January, February, you'll see a superintendent's adjustment that nets those two accounts together.
Perfect. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, the electric utility public benefit charge that.
So when the state put that into place, they thought they were going to sunset it in April. That did not happen. And so every electric bill that we get, just like a homeowner gets, you're seeing that public benefit charge. And so the decision made both by the Board of Ed and the town during the budget season was to assume that that was going to be reduced. And it just hasn't materialized. And so essentially we're putting back in that money that we.
Any update on that or not really?
I don't think it's going to go away this year.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's talk about transfers.
So we do have 7 transfers to start the year, which is not unusual for the first start of the year. The first is for $81,874 for HVAC repair. As we mentioned, we have 2 vacant HVAC positions. And so we're covering that through contracted services temporarily. We are taking the balance from salary savings as well as some savings in insurance for those positions. The second transfer is for board docs. We have it here at 6,000. If the board chooses to go to 10,200 for that larger package.
Which is it 10-2 or 10-4?
I thought it was 10.2.
See if I can pull it up.
Okay. We would take the whole amount from workers' comp, so this whole line item transfer would be the same. It's just a matter of what version that you're going. Public benefit charge for electric, we are recommending taking funding from the savings and property insurance, student accident insurance, and the favorable settlements for contract support. The first grade section at Hinley, which was the 108th section, we're recommending taking savings from turnover. The world language 0.2 French teacher at the middle school, we are recommending taking the savings from turnover. The food service subsidy for the early release PD days, we're recommending taking the savings from turnover. And then the contracted services within special education, really just asking to move that money that was earmarked from out of district tuition into contracted services for those students.
Questions? So if we go back to the board docs or whatever we call the software now, well, let's just have a discussion on that because we did have a board discussion. I mean, I think it's worth its weight in gold in terms of productivity that it's going to bring you guys in the central office building. So how do you expect to make changes from that? Or you're in the midst of doing the due diligence, I know, but what's the process in going from 6,000 to 10.2 or 10.4?
So I would think if the board is more supportive of the 10.2, we'll amend this to be 10.2 as opposed to 6,000. So when you vote at the next board meeting, it'll reflect the 10.2.
So Jill, what's the plan in terms of the board?
Katie and Eric and Cass have arranged for Katie and Dave to have a demo.
Okay,
So they'll go through and then we can ask them to report in, by email or what have you beforehand. So the board is prepared, but they will report informally at the board meeting
perfect.
in terms of what they recommend. Yes, Robin?
Are they also going to demo if we did do the 10.2, that would be the policy piece, I think, and those.
They're gonna do the full suite.
Demo all of that.
Yes, and we did find out your question about archive older materials. We just provide them with a zip file and of all those materials and they'll upload them for us.
So those would all be searchable as well. Okay, great.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
And that's within that package?
yeah.
Well, all right. So, okay, that's that one. And then,
10-2, you're right, it was 54 for the.
Just the original.
so it is
$10,200.
$10,200. Okay, and then the consultant services and tuition, is that ultimately going to be a wash as you go through the year? Do we have any
It's a slight,
savings?
it's a slight savings.
Okay.
You'll see the difference between the tuition was about 370 and you're looking at 330 for contracted services. So it is a slight saving.
Any other questions? All right, so I would recommend that we, put forth these transfers to the board for approval.
As is.
Well, with the asterisk next to the 10. the software if it goes larger. But yeah, we'll decide that later. All right, good. See no pushback. Would you mind just going through the grants? Sorry, I forgot to ask you. And then just also the food service very quickly.
So the IDA grant actually got a slight increase. Our award is $1,029,000. It's about a $50,000 increase from the prior year. This again funds mostly staff, paraprofessionals, some special education teachers and psychologists. Title II, our allocation is $47,321. That's largely used to support professional development. If you recall, in the summer, that grant was frozen and it was rescinded by the federal government. And so we were not sure if we were going to get that in late August. That was released. And so we are getting that Title II grant for $47,000. And then Title III is just over $8,000, and that supports English language learners. We do have the balance of the ARP mental health grant, which funds the wellness coordinator. And so that is funding about a third of that position. The community fund did fund a portion of Teen Talk at the middle school. And so the board's funding a portion of it, and then the community fund's funding the other portion. And then if we look at the food service fund, it is running at a deficit of $201,487. That is a product of the fact that we only had 3 serving days in August, didn't have a lot of upfront costs in the beginning of the year. Typically what happens is we run a deficit for about the first 6 or 7 months of the year, and then it becomes cash flow positive. And then again, as we did last year, it'll start to subsidize the board's budget. And so you'll see that food service subsidy account within the financial report, start to actually see that revenue post, and it offsets the cost of lunch monitors and it offsets the cost of the budget. If we look last year, it was about $280,000 that the cafeteria fund was profitable, and that subsidized the board's budget.
Okay, and so just back to the grants on the federal side, we're not missing any monies year
So
over
the only
year.
thing that we, not year over year, the only thing we obviously still don't have is Title I, which we lost last year, and we continue to not have.
But that was based on census
Correct.
data and income levels of the
Correct.
town, not anything pulled
Correct.
relative. Okay. Well, that's good news. I thought we were going to see it. Go.
We thought we were losing Title II, but that has been released.
Perfect.
Just how often is that census taken?
I think it's every 10 years. I'd have to double check.
Well, that's the actual census. This is just census of, kids who are below, like, I thought it was not like the census, but like a census of the population.
Income levels within the population.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll have to double check on that. And we can get back.
Thank you.
All right. So that's the only follow-up. Any other questions? All right, public comment. No one's in the audience, no one
Nobody else.
online. Can I get a motion to adjourn? There we go.